Footage of the military equipment of the Russian army leaving the Syrian city of Tartus has been spread. The Russian convoy included Patrol A, armored vehicles, KAMAZ 43269 Vistral military truck with MB2-03 military module and 82A armored personnel carriers. Slogans were chanted in Arabic and French as the column passed through the area where the rebels were stationed. Russia claims that the military did not leave the base in Tartus, and that both bases in Tartus and Khmimi are under the control of the Russian military. Turkish and Arabic language telegram channels wrote that Russia hastily removed all its equipment from the Tartus base.
Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Les Russes! C'est les Russes, frère! Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar!
More frequent rotations of cargo planes between Russia and the Russian airbase at Khmeimim, as well as columns of Russian army vehicles moving along the roads, suggest that a start is being made on evacuating Russian military installations in Russia in the wake of the fall of Bashar al-Assad's regime. But it will not be easy for Russia to evacuate its military personnel, as well as a large amount of weapons and equipment deployed in different parts of the country from Syria. A large Russian military contingent remains in Syria. At the beginning of 2024, its number, according to indirect evidence, was about 7.5 thousand people, writes the BBC. Russia operates the Tartus naval base in Khmeimim Air Base, the other military facilities in the country. In 2017, Moscow and Damascus signed an agreement on the use of bases in Tartus and Khmeimim for a period of 49 years until 2066. However, now it is difficult to say whether Russia will retain them at all. The journalists note, adding that the Russian leadership has also made it clear that there are no plans to use them and their fate is to be discussed with the new authorities in Damascus. At the same time, the bases in Tartus and Khmeimim are not the only facilities where Russian military personnel are present. Journalists also emphasize that if the information previously published in the media is confirmed and the Russian command has contacted the Turkish command to agree on assistance in withdrawing troops, this will help evacuate Russian troops from the remote areas of Syria, but not from all of them. In some areas where there are Russian troops, there is no Turkish presence at all. In order to withdraw troops to Tartus or Khmeimim, from where they could then be evacuated to Russia, it will be necessary to negotiate with a wide variety of forces, the publication says. A certain amount of tension has been hovering around the Khmeimim and Tartus bases, as the telegram channel Dva Mayora, which is close to the Russian army, reported. We have received information that militants from the Hayat Tahrir al-Sham intend to test the defenses of our Khmeimim base. Light camouflage measures, lights out, have been taken and personnel have taken up positions, he said. Evacuating the Russian military contingent directly from Syria will also not be easy. In addition to 7.5 thousand people, it includes a large number of weapons and military equipment, including armored vehicles and anti-aircraft missile systems. If the Russian Federation begins an urgent evacuation from Khmeimim, this may require hundreds of AN-124 and IL-76 flights in a very short time. The water route via the naval base in Tartus is no simpler either. Ships will not be able to pass through the Turkish Bosphorus and Dardanelles Straits into the Black Sea. A video of the fierce indignation of Russian occupiers who are driving through the territory of the Syrian Arab Republic and complaining that the citizens of this country did not want to die for the recently overthrown dictator Bashar al-Assad has appeared on the internet, reports the TG channel Ukraine 365. In turn, Israeli military observer Yigal Levin, who also posts vivid footage of the exodus of former Assad fighters to neighboring Iraq on his channel, notes that this picture was entirely expected since most people do not want to fight at all and the discipline of almost any army is based on very severe punishments. The rapidly relocating Russians in Syria are documenting Syrian army soldiers who have taken off their uniforms, thrown down their weapons and are simply walking into Iraq, he writes. In addition, Levin emphasizes that the harsh discipline in the Syrian army was maintained by Russian Wagner mercenaries as well as militants from the Lebanese terrorist organization Hezbollah, and they carried out all this through repression, including threats and pressure on the relatives of Syrian army soldiers. As soon as these two factors were gone, the average Syrian Sunni soldier, simply not understanding why he should die in this war, left, either home or to Iraq, or even to the rebels, the Israeli military blogger states. By the way, in the viral footage, one can clearly see and hear how Russians speak with hatred about the Syrians who laid down their arms, uttering obscene insults towards them. It is worth noting that the crowd of Syrian citizens stretching into the direction of neighboring Iraq looks quite long. The fuckers are running, and we have to suffer for them. Russians driving along the road in their cars are indignant. The collapse of Bashar al-Assad's regime in Syria is a disaster for Russia and its dictator Putin. Moscow has yet to feel the consequences of this event. The famous American historian and writer Timothy Snyder told, "The loss of Syria is not only a crushing blow to Putin's image as a geopolitician. He faces 4 very unpleasant consequences. The first consequence is the debunking of the myth that Russia allegedly never loses. Kremlin authorities and propagandists love to repeat this phrase in the context of the protracted war against Ukraine. History in Syria has shown that it is a lie. That is, Moscow's negotiating positions have been undermined. The second consequence is the difficulty of maintaining colonial rule in Africa. It will become much more difficult and much more costly for Russia to maintain influence in this region after losing the logistical hub, the Syrian military bases. The third consequence is the Katoro Turkish gas pipeline. The project to build it was blocked by Assad, indulging Moscow. Now it can be built, which will put an end to Russia as an energy power. The fourth consequence is the failure of the doctrine of supporting dictators. History in Syria has shown that the Kremlin's policy of keeping loyal usurpers in power at bayonets cannot be long-lasting. The collapse of such regimes occurs with lightning speed.